Some moments can't be explained, only felt.
A man that had longish kind of ruffled hair. It didn't take me long to realize that that was Jesus.
A soft glow in the sky. A voice that comes out of nowhere. Or a hand reaching out when no one's around. These miracles aren't just stories. They're real moments caught on camera that feel almost impossible to deny. The man in the hospital room never saw it, neither did the nurses, but the security footage did. It was a dark blur that moved through the room, completely unnoticed by anyone inside. When the staff came in moments later, there was nothing there. No smoke, no shadow on the wall. But that clip? It's still online. Viewers believe it was his spirit, quietly slipping away. Others say it wasn't his at all, but something that came to take it. No one has explained it since, and it remained a mystery. Gentle visitor. A woman in critical condition lay in her hospital bed, alone. But the CCTV told a different story. Out of nowhere, a faint glowing arm appeared, reaching out toward her. She didn't look scared. In fact, she seemed calm, like she was speaking to someone only she could see. By the time a nurse arrived, the figure had vanished. The woman was asleep, smiling, and her condition was stabilized. The moment left many speechless. Was it just light, a glitch, or something sent to comfort her just when she needed it? What do you think? Comment below. Silent lift. It started like any other hospital recording. A room, a bed, and a patient who had just taken his last breath. But as the footage continued, something unusual happened. This faint, mist-like form slowly floated up from the body and vanished out of frame. At first, the staff dismissed it. Maybe it was a flicker, a tech issue, something routine. But it didn't blink or jump. It moved with intention. It knew where it was going. The more they watched, the less it felt like a glitch, and more like a moment caught that wasn't meant to be. Silent visitor. A museum's surveillance feed showed something that didn't quite belong. There was a transparent figure standing still in front of a painting, almost as if it was lost in thought. But then, it started to move calmly, like it wasn't in a rush. Its steps were smooth, its presence clear, not like a shadow, but like someone quietly walking through the gallery. There was no glitch, no distortion, just an uninvited guest that didn't feel out of place. Some think history fades, but in places like this, maybe it simply lingers, still watching and admiring. Hospital visitor. Chelsea's room was quiet. Machines beeped softly as her family stood by, watching her slip further away. She was just 14. Then, during those silent moments, something appeared on a monitor outside her hospital window. It was a glowing figure, faint but noticeable. A nurse stared and called it an angel. Moments later, Chelsea's heartbeat picked up. She opened her eyes. No one questioned what they saw. It wasn't dramatic, but it felt like a real-life angel caught on camera.
This image appeared up on the security monitor, and it was an image of an angel. And I thought, well, either that's the angel coming to take her to heaven, or it's an angel to say that she's getting better.
Soul leaving. No one expected the hospital footage to capture something like this. Nurses were doing CPR, trying to save a man's life, when a mist slowly lifted from his body. It wasn't just random. It had the shape of the patient. It hovered for a moment, then drifted upward and faded away. Minutes later, he was gone. People who've watched it can't agree on what it was, but many say it looked like his soul quietly slipping away. The moment still gives chills, not because it was scary, but because it felt real. Sudden collapse. Zach Clemens, a high school football player, was in gym class like any other day. Then suddenly, he collapsed. Doctors later confirmed a cardiac arrest, and for over 20 minutes, he showed no signs of life. Just when all hope seemed lost, a heartbeat returned. But what shook people most wasn't the recovery. It was what Zach said afterward.
A man that had along his kind of ruffled hair. It didn't take me long to realize that that was Jesus.
He remembered seeing a man who simply said, "You're going to be okay." Zach believed it was Jesus. Science may not have an answer for what happened, but for his loved ones, it felt like someone stepped in and carried him back. Goodbye moment. This man wasn't ready to say goodbye, so he sat by his father's side anyway, just singing softly, hoping it helped. As hours passed, his father took his final breath. Right then, a flickering orb, small and light, slowly rose above the bed. He caught it on video, but never shared it to prove anything. To him, it just felt like a sign that his dad left with peace in his heart and love around him. He still watches it sometimes, not to question it, but to feel close to that moment. Light in Hall. Everything about this Sunday service felt normal, but when they watched the security footage, they were shocked. As the choir sang and prayers echoed through the hall, a faint light began forming at the back. It slowly shaped into a glowing figure with wings, standing still and glowing. People later recalled feeling an unexplained warmth in that moment. The figure didn't move or make a sound, but somehow it felt present. A few seconds later, it faded, leaving behind a moment to remember. Unknown visitor. The woman kept mentioning a child in her hospital room. Her family thought it was just her mind playing tricks until they checked the footage later. And there it was, a small figure beside her bed, completely dark, almost like a shadow standing still. Nurses moved freely, not noticing anything, even walking right through where it stood. She passed the next morning. But her family was not so sure if it was just her imagination. Some believe what she saw wasn't really a child, but something else, quietly waiting to take her with it. Waters' response. It was just a quiet baptism by the lake. Nothing out of the ordinary until the water began to move on its own. Slow ripples spread in perfect patterns, like the surface was reacting to the chants. There was no wind, no disturbance, not even a bird nearby. The people there stopped singing and just watched. Something about the moment felt sacred. They called it nature, but believers called it something divine. Whatever it was, it turned an everyday ritual into something that felt touched. Paralysis incident. A man had been dealing with sleep paralysis for months, so he set up a camera to see what really happened when he couldn't move. What it caught was beyond anything he expected. A soft mist lifted from his chest, as if a piece of him had floated free. Then, objects nearby shifted, one flung across the room and tapped him hard enough to jolt him. The mist slowly lowered and merged back into his body. That's when his eyes opened. The man called it his guardian angel that protected him the whole time. Midnight Passage. It was late, almost too quiet in the hospital hallway. The camera didn't catch anyone walking by, no staff, no visitors. But just after midnight, the sliding door opened, then closed. It was as if someone knew exactly where they were going. The moment was so subtle, most would miss it. But the ones who reviewed the footage didn't shrug it off. They believed someone or something had passed through, not by mistake. Winged omen. People didn't just claim to see it. They filmed it. Dozens of them. On June 13th, 2025, Houston's skies lit up with something that didn't look like any ordinary cloud. It had wide wings, soft outlines of feathers, and a towering figure above the city. For many, it felt like a sign from above. But it wasn't just the shape that got people talking. It was what came next. Days later, water swept through the area. That peaceful-looking figure suddenly felt more like a warning than a blessing. Locals said it matched what was written in ancient texts, not of angels, but of omens. The Visitor.
Metro Atlanta mom says it actually shows her son's ghost.
Jennifer Hodge was winding down for the night when her phone buzzed and motion detected on the security camera. She opened the app expecting to see a stranger, but what she saw left her stunned. A blurry figure had appeared in the hallway. It looked just like her son, who had passed months ago. The shape stood for a second, then vanished. Jennifer ran to check the house, but no one was there. That moment changed everything for her. She felt like her son came back, briefly, just to let her know he was okay.
Definitely tell that in the photo there is a human figure.
Light that followed. The camera was meant to capture a sweet backyard memory. Grandpa spinning his grandson around near the fire pit while the boy laughed without a care. But when the family watched it later, a glowing light kept drifting beside the grandfather, matching his every move. At first, they thought it might be a lens issue, but it wasn't random. It stayed close to him, almost like it was waiting. Folks thought it was the child's guardian, but for the daughter behind the camera, it felt like a light that wasn't following for protection, but for farewell. Sky figure. People living on the island of Ikaria, Greece, started capturing the same thing without even knowing each other. Different phones, different angles, but same strange sight of a bright, human-like figure floating in the clouds, dressed in what looked like robes. It didn't take long before people started saying, was this a sign? Was it him? While some shrugged it off as sunlight playing tricks on the lens, others saw something deeper, something spiritual. Because when too many cameras catch the same coincidence, it doesn't always feel like one. Luminous figure. This man didn't expect to find anything unusual. It was just another solo hike, just another view from a hill. But as he scanned the treetops, something glowing caught his attention. High up in the branches, a figure sat motionless, cloaked in white, almost shining. It didn't move or turn. Later, when the man shared the footage, people had their own thoughts. Some called it an angel, others a spirit at rest. But one thing was clear. It wasn't part of the forest. Gentle departure. A medical chopper just touched down when the crew moved fast, guiding a patient toward help. But the camera caught something unexpected in the background. A faint light rising into the air. At first glance, it looked like dust or wind movement. But then came the news. The patient hadn't survived. Suddenly, the glow felt different. It floated up, almost like a goodbye. The team never spoke much about it, but that moment stayed with them on a quiet exit, caught in real time, that didn't feel coincidental. Holy mist. It wasn't just the timing, it was the shape. A church service had just ended in the Philippines when people noticed something above them. A cloud, strange in size and form, hung still over the building. In the video that followed, a figure seemed to take form inside the mist. It looked like Jesus, but the people who saw it live said it looked more like the Virgin Mary. Whatever it was, it didn't look like just weather. Many saw it as a sign, clear and meaningful. Maybe not everything above us is just clouds. Maybe some messages are shaped to be seen. Floating spirit. Late one night, a CCTV camera captured something that didn't make sense. A man was lying on the sidewalk, but then something shifted. A nearly invisible shape slowly floated upward from his body, perfectly matching his form. It wasn't smoke or a shadow. It moved like a part of him had stepped away. The clip went viral and skeptics called it just camera distortion, but many people related it to something we're not meant to fully understand. But either way, it left people watching. Peaceful visit. This farmer had checked the barn 100 times before, but this footage made him pause. His cow stood still, almost entranced, eyes fixed on something invisible. A moment later, a soft glow floated into view, just barely there, reaching toward the animal like it knew the cow. It was just a quiet touch, and then it was gone. Watching it, the farmer said one name, someone who used to care for these animals like family. It didn't feel spooky to him, more like a final visit, a calm reminder that love doesn't really leave. It just finds new ways to stay. Glow in Michigan.
There's a lot of naysayers that make fun of it and whatever, and that's okay.
It was a regular night in Michigan, and then a motion camera captured something the homeowner couldn't explain. There was a glowing shape floating just above his parked truck. He stared at the photo in disbelief. Unsure of what he was seeing, he sent it to his pastor, who responded instantly and said it was an angel. The figure had a soft, peaceful glow, like it was standing guard. Whether it was light reflecting or something beyond understanding, it left a lasting impression. The man now shares the photo with others, believing that maybe, sometimes, we're being looked after more than we realize.
I do truly consider it a blessing. It's definitely an angel.
Church entity. The church was empty, just one guard making rounds through the empty pews. Nothing felt off. But when he reviewed the footage the next morning, something changed. Behind him, a faint figure followed for a few seconds. It was small, quiet, almost childlike. It didn't approach, just walked with him, then turned away and disappeared. There was no fear in the video, no rush or tension. Just something calm, watching. He never heard a thing. But from that night on, he said the church didn't just feel quiet anymore. It felt like it was watching back. Guarding light. It looked like a normal late-night stroll. Just a man walking down the street, unaware that a security camera was recording. But halfway through the clip, something strange appeared behind him. A faint shape, almost like glowing mist, rose and hovered, then vanished as quickly as it came. The man never turned around. He didn't seem to notice. Online viewers paused and replayed it again and again. Some said it was a technical glitch. Others believed it was something watching over him, perhaps shielding him from something that never happened. Whatever it was, it only showed up once, and only on camera. Divine sign. A photo went viral recently, and for good reason. It showed the moon surrounded by clouds shaped perfectly like a glowing cross. But what really caught people's attention was how the cross seemed to shine behind the moon, as if the light was coming from far beyond it. No one knew if the image was real, edited, or a trick of timing. But for many, it didn't matter. They saw it as a sign, a quiet reminder that even during dark skies, something brighter might be watching over us from a distance we can't reach. Lifted figure. Back in 2015, a photo taken after an incident on a highway in Kentucky made its way online, but it wasn't the wreck that caught people's attention. In the background, above the mangled cars, something strange was floating, almost like a person, faint and rising. The photo was meant to remember someone lost, but instead, it started endless conversations. Netizens called it a trick of light, but the man who posted the video swore it was the soul leaving. What do you say? Drop your comments down. Cloud face. It was just another sunny afternoon when a man looked up and paused. High in the sky, the clouds had changed into something eerily familiar. It was a face with soft features, peaceful eyes. It seemed like someone was watching. The man couldn't explain it, but something about that moment felt comforting. He later said it reminded him of Jesus, silently watching over him, and maybe that's how signs work. Not in thunder or flashes, but in skies when we least expect them. Passing shadow. The family was just wrapping up dinner when it appeared along the hallway wall, a shadow long and slow, like someone taking a walk. But there was no one else in the house, and no light source could explain it. Then it faded. They thought maybe it was a trick of the eye, until it came back. Again and again. It just passed through, like it was following a route taken 100 times before. And the family stopped being scared because it seemed like a part of their family after some time. River incident. Riverside baptism in Honduras was underway. Nothing unusual. But right as the pair came out of the water, something formed above them. It hovered, shaped almost like a person, and it was glowing faintly. Everyone there noticed. Some looked around, trying to figure out the source. Others stood quietly, unsure what they had just seen. Science says mist and sunlight can play tricks, but this didn't feel like a trick, but a moment meant to be witnessed, and maybe even blessed. Mirrored blessing. It was a cheerful clip from 2006 where these three kids were recording a birthday wish for their mother, but the mirror behind them caught something they didn't. A faint shape, soft and glowing, stood just long enough to be noticed. It had wings, or something close. Then, out of nowhere, the mirror tipped forward and fell. The kids ran, screaming and laughing, never realizing what they caught. Years later, their mother still calls it her favorite video. She believes it wasn't anything scary. It was something good, maybe even something divine, that showed up just long enough to be seen, then moved on. White mist. April 5th was supposed to be a normal day until a couple took a wrong turn and ended up on an under-construction road. They were safe, but something else caught people's attention in the dashcam footage. Just as the car came to a stop, a strange white mist floated out of it and disappeared into the sky. Some say it looked like smoke, but others weren't convinced. The way it moved felt deliberate. For a few, it wasn't something leaving the car. It was something arriving, something higher than us, stepping in for a reason. Light in church. During a prayer session in a small church, something caught the eye of a man recording from the back pew. In one far corner, a faint glow started to build. It didn't flicker like candlelight or shift like sunlight. It just grew, calm, bright, and still. Some turned away, unable to look directly. Others felt drawn to it. The shape of the glow? People said it formed a figure in robes, or maybe it was just light. But almost everyone agreed. It didn't feel like a camera issue. Topayo's turning point. Topayo Hill had always been surrounded by stories, and locals spoke of strange sightings, but they were often brushed off. Until one day, a camera changed everything. A group stood in prayer, and as the lens kept rolling, something happened. A soft glow from the Virgin Mary statue, and then movement. It was a slight movement, but enough to freeze everyone in place. People even started crying as that clip turned whispered beliefs into something people couldn't ignore. Since then, Topayo hasn't just been a location. It's become a place of something more. Final departure. What the nurses saw on the monitor wasn't part of any medical chart. A dark, misty figure seemed to rise from the patient's body, slowly drifting upward before vanishing off-screen. The patient hadn't passed yet, but seconds later, the beeping stopped. The clip spread fast, stirring up debates. Was it the soul? A camera error? A trick of the light? But those who were in that room that night said it didn't feel like tech acting up. It felt like something was leaving, and whatever it was, it left just before the heart did. Mosque glow. Inside a mosque, during a moment of prayer, something unusual happened. Among the still worshippers, one person seemed surrounded by a faint, steady glow. It wasn't strong or flashy, people noticed. Some turned their heads. Others closed their eyes tighter like something unseen had walked in and sat among them. It wasn't a glitch on the camera, and it didn't flicker like light usually does. Whether it was a sign or just a rare moment of peace, no one really knew. Dark entity. The hospital wing was empty, and the camera footage was routine until something tall and dark appeared beside the bed. It was barely visible, but definitely there. Staff confirmed no one had entered, no alarms were triggered, and the room had been locked for hours. But that figure? Maybe it was guarding someone who never returned, or waiting for someone who wasn't gone yet. The recording ended, but that eerie moment stayed in everyone's minds. Lifting away. Some stories talk about the soul as something that gently leaves the body like smoke. That's exactly what this footage seemed to show. A man had collapsed outdoors. People gathered around, but the focus turned to what rose from him, a pale, drifting shadow lifted upward, almost too soft to notice at first. Then it disappeared. Skeptics brushed it off as dust or heat waves, but online viewers were convinced they'd just seen something left. The clip didn't confirm the man's fate, but what the camera caught kept people talking. Grounded light. People in Mancherial, India, looked up on May 26, 2025, and couldn't believe what they saw. A glowing orb appeared in the sky that was descending until it hovered just above the ground. Locals captured it on camera, clearly puzzled by its behavior, and brushed it off as a rare weather phenomenon. But experts shared a different take, saying it looked like something spiritual, like a lost presence, unsure of where to go. Whether it was nature's odd show or a soul in limbo, it didn't come down just to disappear. Silent move. During a live stream from Santa Anita Church in Mexico, something strange went unnoticed in real time. As the priest led the prayer, a statue behind him, one of Jesus, subtly moved its hand. No one inside reacted, but later, the church community watching the video caught it. The movement wasn't sudden or shaky. It looked intentional, like a quiet gesture. They believed it was something sacred, like the statue responded to the prayer, silently reaching out in a moment that felt too real to ignore. Soul transfer. It looked like any regular street footage until a young boy walking suddenly collapsed, and then a faint figure, like mist, calmly left his body and moved into another person nearby. The person did not react, but the camera saw it clearly. And now that person who was walking around completely unaware, carrying something that didn't originally belong to him. Backyard visit. A woman heard faint rustling behind her house and peeked outside, expecting a stray cat or raccoon. But moving across her yard was something tall, pale. It didn't look around, didn't hurry, and right before her eyes, it began to fade, as if it was finished. She said it didn't scare her. It seemed like something not meant to be seen had passed through her world and moved on. Rooftop lurker. Inside a mosque in Indonesia, a group of children sat together, peaceful and unaware. But above them, on the rooftop, was something else watching. A pale figure, unmoving, almost blending into the shadows. Its face looked tired, like it had been there for a long time. No one saw it that day, but the camera did. And now, many viewers feel like that figure wasn't just passing by. It belonged to something evil. Graveyard. Goodbye. A simple visit to a grave turned into something unforgettable. A young girl and her aunt had just finished saying a few words near her mother's resting place. As they turned to leave, the girl paused, smiled at empty space, and gently waved. No one else was around. Then she stepped back toward the grave, rose on her toes, and softly said goodbye. Her aunt caught it all on camera, completely stunned. She didn't see anyone, but her niece clearly did. For a moment, it didn't feel like they were alone. It felt like a final, unseen hug from her mother. Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.